Are they avoidant or just not interested? If you don't know the difference, chances are you're going to be spinning your wheels, wondering and waiting, being left unsure all the time. So in today's video, I'm going to break down how big and crucial the differences actually are here between somebody who's avoidant and actually just not interested in a relationship, so you do not get mixed up and waste your own time any longer. Before I go into this, I want to make one quick disclaimer about the dismissive avoidant. There is a difference between the dismissive avoidant being interested in somebody in a romantic way and their actual willingness to commit to a relationship. I just want to make sure that I put that out there because this video is specifically about, is this person interested in you? It doesn't necessarily mean, is this person ready to jump into a relationship? And there are very much stages for the dismissive avoidant along their path of being interested in somebody to the point where they decide they want to commit to a romantic partnership. I'm just going to give some key points ahead of time. Number one, you will not see dismissive avoidants do things that they don't want to do. So if you see a dismissive avoidant who's giving you their time, their energy, their affection, showing up, connecting, doing these sorts of things, it's a sign that there's definitely an interest there. They're pretty good with their boundaries. There can be some people-pleasing dismissive avoidance, but even those, you'll get them people-pleasing for little tiny bits of time before they sort of push back and run away. So if you are getting their time, if you're getting text messages from them, compliments, affection, maybe you're sitting with them on a date and they're a little bit affectionate, these sorts of things, there's definitely some interest going on there. And they tend to very much deeply value their time to themselves as well as their creature comforts. This is a good sign. Like if you're with them and they're giving you your time, a very good sign. If they're making comments about like words of affirmation, things that where they're talking about the future, potentially dating, a relationship, this accounts for a lot as well. Because dismissive avoidants as well, they don't tend to be overly expressive with their words until they're a little bit closer to somebody. They can be very expressive intellectually, but when it comes to expressing themselves romantically and how they're feeling, it doesn't tend to happen too often. If there's a little bit of that happening, then that's also something to note, because that would be technically sort of like outside of the regular dismissive avoidance comfort zone. Unless they're feelings, you sort of want to look at it like this. The dismissive avoidance feelings have to outweigh their fears or have to overpower their comfort zone. And so if you're seeing some of these things that are out of character for the dismissive avoidant, this is all an important feedback mechanism. For a woman, if they're having any sort of physical contact with you, chances are she's pretty interested. Again, there can be some people-pleasing dismissive avoidants who just aren't setting boundaries and are sort of in that like freeze mode and not able to, but this is still quite rare. The vast majority of dismissive avoidant women don't tend to want to be too close physically for quite some time. It tends to be a very strong boundary for them. So if there's physical affection, that's a pretty strong sign as well. Men can present a little bit differently in this situation. If the man is warm on dates, if he's present, if you notice excitement to see you and you notice some kind of feeling expression, that's a really big thing, as well as if they're affectionate with their words or warm with their words, or if they ever talk about the future. Another thing that's important to note is if the dismissive avoidant is doing acts of service for you. So if they are paying for things at dinner, if they are cooking for you, if they are doing you a favor, taking your car in or helping you out, helping you pick out something that's in the technology department, if that's something they're really interested in, helping you buy a computer, research the specs, like that, those sorts of things, those are all the dismissive avoidance expression of love, like the acts of service and the words of affirmation as well. But the words of affirmation tend to feel a little more vulnerable, so you won't naturally see that come until a little bit later, once there's been like a history or some deeper connection. Now, how do you tell that they're not interested? Okay, if they're not interested, they're not usually texting you back at all consistently. They literally will just be not interested in having people in their lives, and they can just sort of push that person away. If they're permanently aloof, not just at the start of the date, because you will see dismissive avoidance sometimes be a little bit standoffish until they warm up. So if you're in like the early stages of dating, you might notice that they're a little bit cold in the beginning of the date. But as time goes on, they get warm, and by the end of the night, they're quite warm and charismatic and connected and present. But if they're sort of permanently aloof and they're on their phone a lot during the date, things like that, that's a sign they're not interested. Obviously, if they ever talk about somebody else romantically, that's a really strong sign that the person is not interested. Sometimes I see people tell me that their ex, for example, is talking about a new person in their life and they're having that conversation. If that's happening, the person is definitely not interested. That's a great way of sabotaging. In some cases, we can get really unhealthy people who are maybe a little bit narcissistic, and they can do things like that as sort of an undercut to see if you give a reaction. And that can be a strategy to sort of get supply if you react and sort of push your buttons and see if you care. That's just a very unhealthy thing, period. So either way, if you're seeing that, I would stay away and set those mental, emotional boundaries within yourself. If the person is never affectionate, if they're consistently maybe spending time with you or hanging out with you, maybe in a group of friends or things like that, but they're not affectionate to you at all in a physical way, that's a strong sign as well. You will see some sort of affection, even if it's just like warmth or grabbing your arm or whatever it is. Like, just if there's some sort of warmth, it's a good sign there's a lot of interest. I just wanted to pop in here and let you know we are doing a 7-day free trial to the All Access Membership Pass at PDS, which means you get access to literally everything inside of the school. And this includes the 4 live webinars I do with our students every single week. And on top of that, you get access to all of our different courses. We have over 55 different courses on relationships, communication, boundaries, emotional mastery, guilt and shame, learning your needs, so many different facets that are really important to master our lives and feel really good about our lives going forward. And last but not least, there's a daily community event. We have trained facilitators and coaches who are in there doing that work, showing up to support you on your journey every single day. Please join me on the other side. Come check it out. See if it's a fit for you. I'd love to see you there. Go ahead and sign up by clicking the link in the description box below. If there are no comments of the future, there's no intrigue, and they're not giving you any of their consistency, those are signs that they're not interested as well. So pretty straightforward, but I do find a lot of people can get so confused because the dismissive avoidant is so confusing that they sometimes think, okay, well, maybe it's just that they're so dismissive avoidant, they're not displaying anything. But you will still see, if you're dating this person or you're on dates with this person, when they're with you, you can feel their interest. You can tell that they're interested. You'll be able to see their presence, their warmth, all those sorts of things. So if you're not getting any of those signs on a date at all, and you're not getting any consistency in terms of like communication or seeing each other or anything like that, that is a sign that it's time to move away from that situation. If you're getting it in spurts where sometimes they text you back, 75% of the time, 70% of the time, that could be a dismissive avoidant who's very interested, but just very dismissive avoidant or not necessarily open to commitment at this point in their life. And if that's combined with you seeing them on a date and you can tell that there's chemistry and that they're very there and available and present, those are all signs that they're interested as well. But there might be this point where the person is interested as the dismissive avoidant, but they are also not that sure about if they're ready to commit or open themselves to commitment. And that's where you're going to see more inconsistency. So check in with those signs, see where you're at. You can think of it sort of as a spectrum like this. You can think of it as very dismissive avoidant, somewhat dismissive avoidant and not interested in commitment, somewhat dismissive avoidant and interested in commitment in this chapter of their life. And then you can think of somebody who's more secure all the way at the other end of the spectrum. So notice that you might have somebody who could be interested, who could have romantic feelings, but might be blocking themselves because of other subconscious wounds or fears that they might be carrying. This can include things like, relationships end in chaos. People tie me down, they invade my space, commitment is scary and it traps me. Whatever stories they're carrying in their mind are obviously also going to impact where they are along the spectrum. So I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much for watching. If you're getting a lot of value out of these videos, please like them, share them, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in the next video.